Record to the cloud. All
But
right.
the state will have a new, well, the 18-year-old, no, she'll be an adult. So the other person, the other kids will be taken by the state, no? No. But she means their legal status, because they don't have to.
All right.
They're not legal, so I said, I didn't know, she thought I knew, I said, I know.
Okay, so I'm just going to go over our norms for the screening.
Okay.
Thank you again for joining us today. I'm just going to go over our ground rules to ensure that this process is fair, respectful, and productive for everyone involved. First, this is a structured screening. Questions have been prepared in advance to ensure consistency and fairness across all candidates. Each candidate will be asked the same core questions. Second, time limits will be observed. Candidates will have up to 3 minutes to respond to each question. I will provide gentle time reminders to help us stay on schedule. This ensures equity and allows us to cover all topics. Third, we are here to focus on issues, not personalities. We ask that candidates refrain from personal attacks and instead focus on their own positions, qualifications, and vision. Fourth, audience members will be muted. I also ask that audience members refrain from typing in the chat. And candidates will have time at the beginning and end of the screening to provide information for how to contact them if any audience members have further questions. Fifth, this screening is being recorded so that members who are unable to attend may review it later before voting. And finally, we ask everyone, again, to please remain on mute throughout the screening. Our goal is to provide members with clear, substantive information to help them make an informed endorsement decision. So with that, again, we're grateful for your participation and we look forward to a thoughtful discussion. Before we get started, please take a minute to introduce yourself and give us information on how we can contact you if we need to.
Sure. So again, thanks everybody for having me. I really appreciate it. And frankly, thank you for all the work that you've done for some time now. It's been I know it's made a major impact in our area and it's awesome. So I thank you. I'm Zack Mullock, Mayor of Cape May, and my contact is Zack at MullockForCongress.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and I had to dust off my Twitter account, so that's back up and running. And I think that covers it.
All right, great. So let's get started. Our first question has to do with healthcare and prescription costs. What is your detailed plan to protect and improve access to healthcare, reduce overall costs, and address prescription drug affordability, and how will you fund it?
So, as mayor, I've in fact been involved in healthcare for the last 6 years and even 8 years, including city council. And it's been kind of well, it's been a disaster on the state level and obviously across our country. But specifically being involved in negotiations with unions and healthcare, and in Cape May, we have completely. I'm sorry, I'm getting like notifications at the same time here. Um, we have um, we have increased all of our employee not only wages but their healthcare coverage, which I'm really proud of. But to say that it has been an absolute disaster, I believe it was last year was something like a 24% increase. The year before that was something like 16 to 18% increase, and the year before that was similar. So it has just been as bad as other items in our economy have gone up and up and up. Insurance has been even worse. And I think the main point across our country, not just in our area, but is the skyrocketing prices, especially now after the ACA is not being funded, which of course Jeff Van Drew voted against. Um, so I very much believe in Medicare for all. And most people realize that we as a country are paying more than any other country for healthcare and getting much, much less. Um, so I think like I said, I am for Medicare for all, and the way we pay for it is by taxing the rich appropriately. It is long past time that we tax the ultra wealthy. The fact that we have one person having more wealth then oh gosh, I'm my phone is just going off right now in one of these terrible chat groups, and I have to turn off the notifications. I'll do that in a moment. But the fact that we have one person who has more wealth than half of our country is absolutely incredible. And so just by taxing the ultra wealthy, we will be able to pay for Medicare for all. How do I turn off notifications? Oh my God.
I just paused your time if you want to turn it off.
I'm so
No,
sorry.
you're fine.
It is like one after the other, and I can't mute because
Usually, let's see.
Hi, little dude. Hi.
do not disturb. Does that work? Okay. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. All right, I'm starting your time back up.
Okay.
You have 38 seconds left.
I think that basically covers it. But just to say that I am intimately aware of this issue. I've worked on it to the tune of millions of dollars as mayor, and I know the system's broken and it needs a complete overhaul. And that is something that I will highly look forward to doing as your congressman.
Okay, thank you. Your next question is about cost of living. What is your plan to lower the overall cost of living for families in our district, including everyday expenses, and how will it make a measurable difference?
Well, obviously, I think Donald Trump said affordability was solved just the other day. So I guess we can just skip this question now. No, it has just been, as mayor, I hear this all the time. People coming to me and saying, um, I can no longer afford to live in this area. And frankly, I open my electric bill and think, how is this possible for so many people to even be able to pay? And the same way with obviously your gas bill and groceries. So all of those things are taking such a major toll. And I think it goes back to the point that I've already made and probably will make many times in this conversation. The stock market is skyrocketed. There's no doubt. And for a lot of people, as Trump describes it, this is the golden era. And for a lot of those millionaires and billionaires, it is. But I, like many of you, look at that and say, wow, the stock market's at 50,000, and yet I can barely afford to pay my electric bill. And I see that and I just feel very, very frankly sad for the folks that I don't know how they're going to be able to do it. So what we have to do again is we have to tax the ultra wealthy. We have to get rid of corruption within government, and we have to look at real solutions. So, and I hope this is a little bit of a differentiation from other folks. I want to look at real solutions in South Jersey. And that one I'll mention is for electricity. We host three nuclear power plants in South Jersey. It has enough energy to power 3.5 million homes. And yet, basically, all of that electricity goes north and goes out of South Jersey. That's absolutely obscene. The fact that we get to host, the nuclear power plant and all the benefits of hosting a nuclear power plant, but not get any of the actual benefits of the electricity, I think is something terrible, and I think it's something that we can change. So that would be something that would be at the top of my list, as well as highly supporting renewable energies. I by the way, have done that myself. My business is 100% solar electric and has been for over 15 years. I have it on my homes, on my house, and I think the same. I drive an electric vehicle and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of American ingenuity, and we'll look to push that highly. We need to have solar panels on as many roofs as possible, and I will push that. And that will absolutely help with the electricity cost crisis that we're facing.
I know.
Okay, thank you.
That's why I put it on.
Great. The next question is about schools. What do you believe the role of federal government is in public education?
Well, first, immediately I would reinstitute the Department of Education. I mean, it's just incredible that we can have someone dismantle that on a federal level. It's disgusting. And personally, and again, I think this is important. I want to give you my personal experience as part of this because we can all give talking points, but I think personal experience matters. I've been on the Atlantic Cape Community College Board for the last over 10 years, supporting education in Atlantic and Cape counties because I feel like that is extremely important. And furthering the education of folks, especially people who cannot afford to go to college, can get into community college and better their lives. And I think that's so important. But in regards to education, fully funding our schools, as a mayor, we fight about the school funding formula all of the time. And it is a sad state of affairs to have to be fighting, knowing that you're asking for funding from a school just down the road, or just in the next county. It's all going somewhere, and I think the fact that it's so underfunded is extremely sad because if you're not funding your education, we're falling behind. We're falling behind in China. We're falling behind in other countries that we're competing with and need to be. So no, let me just say this: I would be a strong advocate for education, especially here in South Jersey.
Thank you.
They will have to
The problem is like this actress is like,
All right, the next question is about climate and environmental justice. What is your plan to address climate impacts in our district and ensure fair distribution of federal environmental resources?
I've been on ground zero of this issue. Um, First off, let me say this. I have been an environmental advocate my entire life. And so it's something I feel really strongly about. If we don't protect our environment, we're all the other issues don't matter. And frankly, I say that as mayor in Cape May. One of the things is we have to work on carbon and cutting back carbon, and on a federal level, that's really important. The Trump administration is taking away all of these requirements that help keep our environment healthy, our water, our air, and more, obviously. But just specifically in Cape May, we have a seawall project that was a $25 million project that was held back and for political reasons. And we've been pushing and pushing and pushing for that for many years. I've been working on it for over 8 years. And frankly, a lot of other people who have done a lot of important work. But let me just say this quickly with the time constraints. In Cape May, we worked on multiple solar projects. We put them on our city buildings. Personally, again, I have it on my own home and on our business. And that was long before ever thinking about running for Congress. I live it and want to do as much as we possibly can for our environment. When the Sisters of St. Joseph were going to move out and perhaps demolish the St. Mary's and Cape May, we we spoke to them, told them, hey, we want to develop this building into the Cape May Point Arts and Science Center. And with a really strong focus on our environment and on climate change. And just this summer, we hosted over 500 people for a climate summit at the Cape May Point Arts and Science Center. Is that 1 minute? I'm sorry. 1 minute. Okay. So they have been doing such incredible work there. And again, I say all that to show I have a track record and experience. This isn't just a canned response. This is something I've lived my entire life. And it's one of the reasons I'm running for Congress. I see what's happening. New Jersey is sinking. The sea level is rising. And we have a congressman who doesn't care, who says that climate change is not real. So the fact that that is what we're living with today, I have 3 kids. We're going to fight hard as hell in Congress to protect our environment.
I was here for
Okay, thank you.
Nothing.
Okay, our next question is about the data centers. Given concerns about increased utility costs, fossil fuel expansion, and environmental strain tied to the proposed data centers, what concrete actions would you take?
So I've taken concrete actions, not on data centers, but on something similar. In Cape May, there was a request for a redevelopment zone, which is connected to what's happening in with these data centers. All of them are looking for these pilot programs, which is a payment in lieu of taxes. And it is obscene. We said no in Cape May under a lot of pressure, but I'm proud of that because what we said was why should anyone, especially someone who's ultra wealthy, be able to get tax breaks or any kind of other benefits that aren't available to anyone else? All we said is play by the same rules as everybody. And that was a big deal in our area. But specifically to the data centers, the environmental impact. And what is absolutely obscene to me is that these are massive buildings with huge rooftops. The fact that they're not at least required to put solar panels on top of the rooftops is obscene. Right away, that should be required within their planning application to all of these communities. And frankly, if they're not going to do that, then it needs to be done on a federal level. Require these data centers to provide their own electricity, number one. Number two, never should it be using the grid to the point that we are affected as homeowners, that we have to pay more for our electricity. That's absolutely absurd. But what other people are not talking about, and I think this gets to the real root of the problems here, is the pilot programs that these people are asking for. This is in most cases, multi-billion dollar companies asking for pilot programs. Again, payment in lieu of taxes, not wanting to pay for the taxes. What does that actually mean if they're not paying taxes? It means they're not paying into your schools. And by the way, they brag about bringing employees. But they're not paying into the schools that, of course, those employees are going to be using. They're not paying your police officers. They're not paying your firefighters. They're not paying your EMTs. And of course, without schools, you're not paying the teachers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's obscene to be offering tax breaks to billionaires, which, we see it on the national level. This is right here in our backyard, and we should absolutely be saying no. And by the way, that goes for the same thing for that golf course next to the data center that got a pilot program. The memberships are $1 million. Why should those people not be paying taxes? And you'll hear from I focus on the financing on a lot of these issues. As mayor, we haven't raised taxes in 6 years because we focus on the financing. And so in a lot of these answers, look, I believe really much in follow the money. And this is another one of those cases when you look at these data centers, follow the money.
Okay, thank you. Next question is about affordable housing. What is your plan to make housing more affordable and stable for residents across CD2?
So there's a couple quick answers. One, get rid of hedge funds buying houses. That is absolutely obscene. It is raising the cost for working families across the country, number one. Number two, and this is a local level one, there are many municipalities in South Jersey who have a lot of Airbnbs and VRBOs. In Cape May, we very quickly, as mayor, it was one of my first acts, was to tax Airbnb and VRBOs. If you are not doing that, and many municipalities are not, those houses are operating as commercial properties. And God bless people who are doing it. I'm not criticizing small businesses who are trying to make a few dollars. Good for them. But the people that are staying there are using community tax paid for community things like the roads, like the police, like the fire. So bottom line, quickly, you have to tax Airbnb and VRBO. More importantly, though, on a national level, We have to look at abandoned houses and which is a problem in South Jersey, reuse of all of these homes and businesses that are not being used, number one. But number two, we need to make massive changes. And let me give you an example as mayor. In Cape May, we have the Cape May Housing Authority. I've been working with them for the past 5 years to update the housing there. They're small single family houses and excuse me, small senior houses and then family houses. They the cost to remodel those homes was over $500 a square foot and sometimes up to $600 a square foot. That's remodeling, not new. That's because of the massive amount of red tape and and frankly government overreach in trying to get these projects done. So if I were to just go out and good union jobs, union pay, if we were to go out and bid that, it would come in at half of that cost. So we have to get rid of all this red tape and make it affordable, even for municipalities to build homes. And frankly, I think on a national level, we need good paying jobs to start building homes. We did it after the Great Depression, and that we built millions of homes. And those people that lived there, they didn't become communists or something. They became what is today the middle class. So we need to do this on a major scale and get people in their homes at an affordable rate and get them into the middle class and we see that has a trickle up effect.
Okay, thank you. The next question is in regards to immigration. What is your comprehensive plan for federal immigration policy, and how will you ensure it is humane, lawful, equitable, and effective for our communities?
I support the DREAM Act, and let me just say this, as again, as mayor, I deal with this issue all the time. And we had our police chief give an update on the Immigrant Trust Act, which is good law and it's supported by our law enforcement officers. And when the incident in Minnesota took place, the killing of Mr. Preddy, I wrote a letter to the Atlantic City Press and highly condemned it. And but condemned it and saying, you know, we totally in Cape May, we totally support our police officers. They do an incredible job. And the police chief in Minnesota brought up the fact that I think they said something like 900 arrests were made the last year involving a gun, and none of which was there an incident of injury or death. And I bring up the fact that Barack Obama uh, deported more immigrants than the president today, but did so in a much more humane way. These are people that live with it. And by the way, I was just out shoveling snow. I was out on my tractor helping people in the community that needed help. And huge kudos to our Department of Public Works and all those people across South Jersey that were getting our roads clean and helping people out. And, good union paying jobs, getting the job done, good people. Um, but I have to say, you also saw a lot of Spanish speaking people that were helping people out, and sometimes at their second homes or their first homes, whichever it may be. But there was a lot of Spanish speaking people, and we rely on those folks to get the job done. You go to a restaurant, you better believe there's going to be some Spanish speaking people there. And so the fact is, uh, I believe Matthew 25, take care of others, care for the stranger, care for the sick, care for the hungry. We can do that and we can get rid of violent criminals, but we can take care of people in a humane way. And I think, look, I believe in a strong border. I think most Democrats do. I think all Democrats really do. I believe in a strong border and I believe in getting rid of violent, bad people 100%. But stopping people and frisking them for asking for their papers in the streets and violating judicial orders, violating the Constitution, violating states' rights, those are obscene and need to be stopped. Anybody who supports the Constitution needs to support all of the Constitution, and I will do that as congressman.
17,
Okay, thank you.
or no. Business detail.
Great. The next question is about money in politics. What is your position on the role of money in politics, and what changes would you pursue to address it?
So I'm becoming stronger and stronger and stronger an advocate of getting money out of politics because I have a phone glued to my ear asking people for money, and it's obscene. I hate it. It's disgusting. I've never had, $200,000 in my life, but in the first week we've raised $200,000, which is huge as a campaign, and people have really come out supporting us. We've gotten over 100 volunteers in the first week, which I just honestly it brings a tear to my eye because you jump into something like this and you're thinking, oh my God, is my head going to get chopped off? And it still may. But the fact that you have people who are willing to jump on board and help is just incredibly just motivating. And so, but back to the question, I've signed on to the Unrig Washington campaign or pledge, I should say, which says basically three things. End Citizens United, which we have to do. No trading of stocks as a congressperson. And the third thing is kind of escaping me right now, but in any event, I signed on to it. Um, and I'm sure it's going to come to me during the next question. But bottom line, I think we have to end Citizens United and get rid of money in politics. I support, government-funded campaigns. I think it would change everything. And in fact, it may even make it unnecessary to have term limits because if you're having congressional elections every 2 years and you have fair elections in terms of financing, I think you're going to have turnover. I think you're going to see more new people come up, which is good. This is a good thing. We need new voices in our government. That's for sure.
Okay, thank you.
That's why we never had to put this up basic because
Okay, our next question
like,
is in regards to economic justice and leadership.
well, de-escalate by letting-
What does economic justice mean to you in NJO2, and how will you demonstrate independence and consistency in advancing your priorities?
Okay, the second part of your question, I think I kind of missed, but economic justice.
Do you want me
Could
to
you just
repeat
repeat
it?
the second part? Yeah, yeah.
Sure. What does economic justice mean to you, and how will you demonstrate independence and consistency in advancing your priorities?
Okay. So, the easy answer because I've been consistent for the last 6 years as mayor to do anything we can for working families. We have to help those folks out. So, what does it mean? And again, I'm going to go back to appropriate taxation. That's what this is all about for finances and getting rid of corruption. If we get rid of corruption, which by the way is going to take a lot of people, a lot more than me, but I think I would be a candidate in the right step, in the right direction. But we have to get rid of corruption in our politics. The amount of lobbying in regards to healthcare insurance and things like that. A congressman gets elected and then all of a sudden they're working for an insurance company or a drug company. We get rid of things like that, and we're going to see a lot more funding. And so I go to the big beautiful bill, which passed by one vote, Jeff Van Drew's vote. And that vote was the largest transfer of wealth in American history from the very bottom to the very tippy top. And it's one of the reasons I'm running. I find it disgusting. The fact that we can have tax breaks for the ultra millionaires and billionaires, yet we can't fund school lunches or SNAP benefits or yes, health care. We're the richest nation in the world. We need to allow people to have a decent retirement, to retire with dignity, to have health care with dignity, to have health care that doesn't bankrupt your entire family, not just yourself. So I think if we have the appropriate taxation, again, I'm not even talking about taxing the middle class. And again, I can say that with authority and would say that with authority in a debate with Jeff Van Drew because I've never raised taxes. And by the way, when he was a mayor, he did raise taxes. So I can't wait to have that debate with Jeff Van Drew. And I think that is really important to have that history so that these aren't just talking points that I'm saying I've done it and we've worked for the working families of Cape May. And I think we can do that for all of South Jersey.
Okay, thank you. Your next question is about constituent accessibility. How will you ensure meaningful, consistent access and accountability to the people of CD2?
So I think actually Jeff Van Drew, when he was a Democrat, had a very good system. But now, if you didn't vote for him, you're a paid actor or a leftist lunatic. And I actually want to say something about that in general. Um, you know, I love my Republican friends and family, and you will never hear me as congressman disparaging half of my constituents. I will never be calling them paid actors. I will never be calling them lunatics. We will debate, and I will be looking and willing to fight on policy. But we have to, as a country, pull ourselves out of this disgusting argument where we treat each other inhumanely. I think of the time that someone at a town hall, called President Barack Obama a Muslim and some other words. And we had a decent man in John McCain, whom we all disagreed with on certain policy issues. But he stood up and had a spine and said, "No, you're wrong. He's a decent man." And he said, "We disagree on policy." That is where we need to get back to as a country. So can you give me just two words on what the question is again, just so I can answer it specifically?
Sure. Sorry.
I need to write it down now.
Um, how will you ensure meaningful, consistent access and
Okay, yeah. Thank
accountability?
you. Thank you. Sorry. So my point was that I think actually Jeff Van Drew had a good system when he was willing to meet with his constituents. That is long gone. He will just ignore you if you didn't vote for him. I will never do that. I will, as I've done as mayor, I don't care what the letter is at the end of your name. We will be meeting with everyone, and I will be explaining the reasons for my votes and helping anyone in need, period. But what that means is you have to have a great team. You have to have, and that would be one of my goals. And I may be obvious to say, but I would work hard at it to make sure that we have the best team in the country for outreach. If you don't have good outreach to the folks of South Jersey, then you're not going to be able to do it. One person can't do this. So you've got to have a good team that knows your goals and trying to help anybody in South Jersey. And I will work very hard to do that. Again, and that gets to the reason I'm running. I am born and raised here. I will be here, win or lose, no doubt. This is my community and this is who I want to help. That's why I'm running.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is in regards to Democratic leadership. What is your assessment of recent party leadership decisions, and how would your approach compare?
Um, well, they're in a difficult position, especially on Fed. Are you specifically saying federally, Alice, if I can ask?
Yeah, like party leaders, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem
Yeah, yeah.
Jeffries.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify local to state or whatever. But yeah, so they're in a tough position. We're in the minority in all three chambers here, so they have a very difficult position. But I'm going to say one thing I said last night after watching the the Union, and watching Congressman Al Green hold up his sign. and then watching a Republican congressman come over and try to steal his sign and then basically push him out. I was extremely angry. That was a silent protest. And what angered me is that not one Democrat jumped to his defense. And to some degree, I've been mayor. I am deal with people professionally and try to do so judiciously, but I do not like bullies. And I want a Democrat who is going to stand up and who is willing to fight. When you see someone like that standing up, who's holding a cane and is an older person, and you don't stand up to that congressman that got in their face, I that's the Democrat I want to see. I want to see someone who's willing to get up there and say, "Get the heck out of here." He did something wrong by the rules of the House, so he's going to have to leave. But do not try to get in this guy's face. And if you're going to yell at somebody, yell at the guy up on the stage who is why Congressman Green is protesting. That is who should be yelled at. So I let me just say, as your congressman, I will stand up for you like other congressmen aren't doing, and I can't wait to do it. And so, more in general, I think the Democrats are doing an okay job. I think their communication with the nation as a whole is very poor. They are not getting out the message that they need to get out. I think we are way too focused on some of the petty baloney, and frankly, we're taking the bait on that. I think the president and others are putting out a lot of things that are total distractions, culture war distractions, all kinds of stuff like that that take us away from the kitchen table issues that are really what we care about as a nation.
Okay, thank you. The next question is in regards to foreign policy. What are your positions on current international conflicts and U.S. global alliances, and how do they reflect your values? Where should foreign aid be allocated?
So, um, as a young man in college, I volunteered for the Obama campaign. And before that, in high school, I proudly went to DC and marched against the Iraq War. And with one of my good friends, Bob Anderzak, who was an assemblyman in South Jersey, LD1, lost his leg in Iraq. And both of my grandfathers fought in World War II. My father fought, it was in the Army. And I, so let me just say this. As a congressman, I hope to never send anyone to war. And I will do anything I can diplomatically to prevent that from happening. And let me say, I think where Jeff Van Drew has us today is putting us in an extremely dangerous situation. It seems like it's almost imminent that we're going to be getting into a war with Iran. He's bowing down to dictators like Putin in Russia. We're not defending our democratic allies. And I said my grandparents fought the Nazis in Germany because they came home and taught my father and taught me, at least one grandfather, one passed away early, unfortunately, the importance of our allies and the importance of the treaties that we have. The fact that we are flirting with getting out of NATO, the treatment of the UN, these are treaties and organizations that have protected world peace for decades. And what it tells me is that you have people who, I call it people with soft hands and hardened hearts. They don't remember the horrors of war. And I think another thing that just happened recently was the nuclear proliferation agreement with Russia was allowed to expire and had almost no news. But these are all things that are making us less safe. And lastly, I'll just say the fact that we have somehow are fighting with our neighbors in Canada. You know, Canada is 10% of our tourism industry in South Jersey. So let alone the fact that we are losing allies and our democratic standing in the world, I think is extremely sad, but it also makes us less safe.
Thank you. Next question is in regards to the Trump administration. How will you approach working with or opposing policies from the Trump administration while representing our district?
Um, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to say that one more again. I'm sorry to ask you again.
No, it's okay. How will you approach working with or opposing policies from the Trump administration while representing our district?
Okay. Just as I have as mayor. And I think that's important. Again, people can look at my track record. This isn't new to me. And I have worked with Republicans, Democrats, independents across the board, and I'm very proud of that. That is how we will get things done. I think there's some folks that think there's just going to be some huge blue wave and that won't matter. Diplomacy won't matter. Believe me, it's going to matter. And in your congressman, you want someone who's actually going to get things done. Like Jeff Van Drew is on the Judiciary Committee, and he just goes there and talks about, culture war type issues and giving trophies out to different folks or saying another person's bad. I have no interest in doing that. I don't want to do that if I'm elected. That's a waste of time to me. I'd rather be at home with my family. I will be focused on issues that matter to the people of South Jersey, the people that I care about and have lived with and worked with my entire life. And that is regardless of, again, the letter at the end of your name. I don't care. I want to do what's best for South Jersey. And I think that's extremely important in whoever we elect as congressman, because it's not just about spouting off platitudes and saying the right thing that a certain segment of the population wants to hear. It's about getting real things done. And that's going to take cooperation with everybody. And that's going to take cooperation to get elected, by the way. And I just want to say that for a second. I am the only candidate that's ever won an election in South Jersey. And I say that because I think it's extremely important that I have shown that in Jeff Van Drew's backyard, I can get those votes. And I think it's a proven thing that we've done now for 3 elections. And the reason is that I've won is because I've worked with everyone to get real things done. So I think that answers your question, I hope.
Yep, thank you.
Good.
All right, only 2 more left. Thank you for your
Okay.
time today. All right. So this one is in regards to gun control. What is your position on federal gun safety legislation? And what changes would you actively work to pass in Congress?
I think New Jersey has done a good job. It is more difficult to purchase a weapon. There is a waiting time before someone can get it. I think those are all very simple and smart changes that most gun owners support. I am a gun owner. I have a shotgun. I hunt. By the way, just I will say that I only do that for food that I eat, never anything else, and that's important to me. Um, but I think any of the restrictions New Jersey look, and it's the proof is in the pudding. We've had far less gun violence. Unfortunately, you have to say this, but school shootings have not happened nearly as much in New Jersey. The New Jersey laws have worked, and I would support all of those on the federal level. So, look, I am totally for common sense gun laws that I think are frankly crazy not to support. But I hunt. I grew up hunting and fishing and that kind of stuff. But totally support the laws that we have on the book now and would do so as a congressman.
Okay, thank you. So this last question is multi-tiered, but it is kind of just a summary of everything. All right. So, among the many pressing issues facing our country today, which one do you consider your highest priority and why? If elected, what specific steps would you take to advance this issue in Congress? So, what would be your primary legislative goal during your first 2 years, and how does it reflect your broader mission serving in office?
Okay. I almost can't say just one thing, but I'm gonna first say the environment. If we don't take on the environment and the issues that we're having and climate change, then none of the other issues are going to matter at a certain point. Like I said, I have three kids, 11, 9, and 7, and I think about their future, and I think about the fact that in our representative today basically doesn't even believe in climate change. I believe in science. I believe in mathematics. And it sounds absurd to have to say that as a politician, but you do. And it's not a conspiracy. It is real, and we need real solutions. I believe in American ingenuity. I believe that we are a country who can come up with solutions to the world's biggest problems, but we need the right people in office to do that. So I hope that I am your congressman because I will work my butt off on those issues that are so important. And that gets to drinking water, air, but we have to take on climate change. So I say that as the first thing. The second thing is affordability. We have to, okay, environment number one, but really close is affordability. And you know what? The two things come together. If we can work on getting folks solar panels a lot across the entire country, not every roof is a candidate, but doing things like that on a massive scale, to me, makes all the sense in the world because the other thing is we know our grid is in very bad shape. So there's a lot of studies out there that actually getting right to the location and need of the energy in some ways is more affordable. So to be able to do that with American-made solar panels that are done in a environmentally friendly way tackles two issues at once, in my opinion. So, but as your congressman, I have an MBA in finance, and again, look at my track record. I have worked very hard to make things affordable in my area and will continue to do so as a congressman. And we have done that. That's how we haven't raised taxes in 6 years, because we've looked at every aspect of whether it be bonding or financing, and interest rates. All of those things are the way that we've been able to keep things flat while still getting really important infrastructure, new police station, new fire station, new library, getting all these important things done, lead pipe removal and streets and all of those important things to any community, but do so in a fiscally responsible way.
Okay, thank you. So that was our last question. Is there anything you would like to add before we close? And please let our members know one more time how they can contact you if they have any more questions.
No, I just, the last thing I just want to talk about for a second is community involvement because I think that's so important. This isn't something new to me. For decades, I've been involved in our community. And, I mentioned the Cape May Point Arts and Science Center. I mentioned Atlantic Cape Community College, but also working, through the church as a child, going to Atlantic City Rescue Mission, and things like the Harriet Tubman Museum in Cape May. When the Macedonia Baptist Church had a building next door that was falling apart, and I mean legitimately, you could see through most of it. We contacted them and said, we'd like to lease the building from you. We'd like to fix up the building, turn it into the Harriet Tubman Museum, and then you have it in perpetuity. I think people thought we were either lying or insane. And But we told them this is what we want to do, and as a person and a general contractor, I jumped in, volunteered for 2 years in rebuilding the Harriet Tubman Museum, and now it's the State Museum. And I just mentioned that for people to know who I am and where I came from and the roots that I have in this community. Um, win or lose, I'll be here in South Jersey. And win or lose, I'll be doing everything I possibly can for working families of South Jersey. And that's why I'm running. I want to help this community and do the best I possibly can. So you can reach out to me. My email is Zack, Zack, at Mullock4Congress.com.
I don't know.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. Um, Basically, what's going to happen now is all of our candidate screenings will be posted to our YouTube, and email will go out with that information. Our vetted members who participated in a pre-screening temperature check and our leadership team will watch the videos and then cast a vote. We will be voting ranked choice, and if we have a candidate that received 51% of that vote, we will choose to endorse them. So we might end up with no endorsed candidate, but Indivisible National is encouraging their groups to go through this process. So it was
That's great.
great meeting you and learning more about you. And we will be seeing you at events in the future, and we will let you know what the result is.
Alice, can I address one other thing with you just really quickly?
Sure.
Obviously not recorded, but I just want to say this to you directly and frankly anyone else on the call because I